go ahead and tell you, it has been a little while, but guess what? My mulberries are back. And I'm so excited to have them back, right? Because this gives me a chance to put them and get them ready to put them in a jar and get them ready to go in my fridge. And I always like to do that. And when I'm doing this and working on these things, and yeah, my fingers are getting all purple, I like to sit and visit and just talk about whatever comes to mind. And I think that's fun for people to kind of get involved in the conversation with me. And I got a lot in my head right now. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through some things. And I don't know what even direction it's going to take, but I'm going to start getting busy because I don't have a ton of time to get this done. And I will hold this conversation as long as I've got berries to cut the little stems off. So we'll get started. I think the biggest thing right now that I'm like walking through is the fact that I have a 5th grader. And if y'all don't know, in our area in 5th grade, you graduate from elementary and you go on to middle school. And I'm like, what in the world is happening? And if not, to make that even crazier still, I said, I have a 4th grader. So literally like 1 year from now, I'll be doing this all over again with my 4th grader. It's super wild. I've already been through all the emotions and the feelings. And I'm like, ugh. I don't love it. I like to be able to keep things buttoned up and be like, hey, yeah, no issues. And I'm like, but I watched my son the other night. I was like, oh, he's sang for the last time in like our children's choir at church. Well, then guess what? He's not going to be in children's choir anymore because they no longer are. He moves on to youth. So he grows up into the next category. So that changes things up a little bit. And I'm like, what a strange thing to have my oldest boy getting ready to change all these things and be okay with it and be... Is it comfortable? It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable at all. Being a parent is not comfortable. So it's kind of wild. The other thing that I'm like walking through is my garden stresses me out right now. I am stressed about my garden. Why? Because I'm out there, all I see is onions. Now I know there's seeds there. I know there's seeds in there. I know there are seeds just waiting to come out and be like, hey, but I'm afraid they're like pepper seeds. So I have to wait until the ground turns to almost 60 degrees. And we've had a freak thing happen. Floods and more floods. So it's been wild here in Oklahoma. We're supposed to have some more in the next couple of days. When we do, I'll take some videos so y'all can see it because it's a little overwhelming, which we always need water. We're always like, yes, please, more water. But at the same time, I don't need that. Like, we've had people die from being in floods this last couple of weeks. So it was a little bit nuts. I'm like, we don't have to have that happen. So, yeah, I'm waiting for my garden to kind of just start blooming and go. And that'd be fantastic. Thank you all for watching. I love that you're here. Do you have mulberry trees? Do you eat mulberries? That's one of the things that, what happened is I got these trees from my dad. And my dad gave them to me because he thought, well, they're fast growing. Because I had no trees in my backyard. So I just started planting them. And at that point, they were little bitty. They were about, like sticks. But you should always be afraid when your dad gives you something and says, hey, just plant it. Don't worry. I should have been like, uh-oh. Because my dad likes things big. Well, now I have 3 huge trees on the side of my house. They're wonderful. They shade the house, but they also give me a ton of these berries, which I love because I didn't know they were edible for a long time. Then I found out they were. Then I found out my boys like them, and I put them in their yogurt. So every year, seasonally, one of the things that we do is we put these mulberries in their yogurt, and they know it's kind of like end of spring, almost summer, because that's about when they come out here. It's currently May. So ultimately, it's almost the end of the school year, and it's almost summertime. So, like, this is like a summertime. As soon as they see this, they know it's almost over, school's almost over, and freedom. Hello there. How are you? Oh, yeah. Now, are you Thunder like we Thunder the basketball team, or you Thunder like we Thunder the rain? Let's see. Hold on, let me. Y'all, I'm going to pull you a little bit closer. Hello, Real Clips. Hello, Lucky. So, yeah, it's been, like, crazy fun. Crazy fun. And so there's a lot going on, but I'm so excited about my berries. I'm so excited. But I'm also, like, a little nervous, I'll be honest. My whole series this week is going to be about crazy tariffs. Because I'm like, I don't love tariffs because tariffs are messy. Tariffs are taxes. And if you don't know that, please watch my video on what a tariff is. Because I teach social studies and history. So ultimately, I have to go back and look at those things and be like, well, what is it and how to teach it and how to tell people about it. And let me just tell you, it pretty much is not great. I said it is pretty protective in some ways, but in other ways, it's very expensive, and that can be very difficult for people, especially people that maybe are on the margins, or maybe they're not independently wealthy all the time and they can just afford to have prices go up all the time. So that's one of the things I do worry about. And I like small business people a lot. Like, I love my small business people. I get to know my business owners, who they are, what they do, all of that. And then I, talk about how's business, how's it going. And when they're looking at me and going, we don't know if we're going to be able to stay open because the costs are too high, we're not going to be able to make it, that worries me. It causes me stress. So one of the things this week I'm going to do is talk about the idea, there's ways that you can save money. I'm doing one of them right now. Why? Because guess what? This is not a blueberry. This is a mulberry. But I'm not paying $3.98 a pound for blueberries. I'm paying free for mulberries. So I can go out and get these mulberries. It takes some time. But look, while I'm doing some time, I'm talking to y'all. And that's fantastic. I mean, you're giving me thumbs up. You're liking, hopefully you're subscribing to my network, because that's also important. And so the ability for us to multitask and do different things is fantastic. World War II and during the wars, a lot of times you saw what we call victory gardens. Victory gardens were gardens that were used in order to, you grew food to support the war movement. And it was a way for you to give other people things that they needed and create like these spaces, and families did it so they could feed themselves, because all the money that was needed was going towards the war movement. So that was very, very different. But I like that era a lot. My great-great-grandmother had big gardens in northern Minnesota. My mom had big gardens in Minnesota when I was a little kid. And then I've grown gardens ever since, but I'm now kind of working on my soil and making it better. Oh, you should read up on them. They're fantastic, like Victory Gardens. And you will learn that there's a lot of ag people right now that ultimately are using their model as kind of a Victory Garden model. We have a lot of homesteaders that are out there, and they were a little more concerned, I think, during the previous administration. And I'm like, you guys need to be a little bit more concerned about current day as well, because I mean, ultimately what they've done is they've taught people how to homestead. I have really good friends that are like super homesteaders. Bad Baxter Farm is incredible. Like, she really is. She didn't have a YouTube channel. I wish she did, but she is what I call a purist. She's a permaculture person. If you don't know anything about permaculture uses things like food forest. It uses spirituality, moon phases, and all of that, and like head to tail with your animal if you butcher it. And like, it really looks at everything that you use, and that you use it intentionally and spiritually while you garden. And so I love that. And she is a true blue. And so I love that about her. I'm not quite as dedicated as that. I'm not quite as all in that way. I love it. And again, I think, honest to God, she should have a channel, because it would be fantastic. Plus, she's opinionated, and it would go really well. People would fight her the whole time and probably get 9 million views, because I mean, she got some spunk to her. So if you haven't followed Blaze at Bad Baxter Farm, please do that. And of course, my big ones. During the pandemic, I went down a rabbit hole. And the rabbit hole I went down was homesteading. Like I said, it made me feel better when I could watch people garden. And I don't know why it was, but it was like something soothing for me that, oh, wait a minute, I can watch somebody garden. They're going to grow something, and something's going to grow. And I think it was the uncontrollability of it. And so the idea to have a controllable thing in front of you is important. And I do that even now with this, because these mulberries represent something to me. They represent the idea that, you know what, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter the chaos that's happening, the trees, I made sure they had dandelions. I made sure they had bees so that they could go ahead and pollinate the trees. The trees then have the berries, and the berries are feeding the family. So it's a big old cycle of something that I know is going to happen. It's not something I wish, not something that I have to predict. It's something that if I treat the bees well, then the bees treat my food well, then that means I get to feed my family. So those are all very reasonable things to me that you get to do. And so I find that very soothing to be able to do that. So I appreciate that. One of the other things that I'm doing right now that I'm going over my network has a couple channels on it that I'm like, I think I'm going to kill them. I think I'm going to get rid of the channels. One of them is a sports channel, which is wild where I am, by the way, because I live in Norman, Oklahoma. So it's like home of the University of Oklahoma, big sports town. But what I've learned about myself and I need to know is, guess what? I'm not a sport. I like watching sports. I know about sports, but I am not a sports caster. I am not a radio sports person. I have people in my market that are absolutely, that's what they do their whole life. They are fantastic and incredible. So if I want to like showcase a sports story, I can put it on my news network and then let them follow other channels. And I think that's probably a good plan for me. Because again, that's just not my strong suit. I'm doing a whole lot more on travel. I'm doing a whole lot more on coffee. I'm doing a whole lot more on music and Norman, everything Norman and the Norman region. So I've got all that going on. So for me, it kind of makes more sense to kind of focus on those other things. So that means I have a free channel. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do with it. So I don't know yet. I may leave that sit as a placeholder for a minute and figure out what topic area I should put in there. I know I have a lot of people that really like gaming, but that's not my jam either. I have a friend of mine who is, and I've always told him that he needs to do it. And then I would just like link to it. But yeah, it's not my thing. My kids, oh, they love it. They're telling me all about Minecraft. Oh dear Lord, you guys, I need help. Someone in the chat, please explain to me basically what is Minecraft. Is it just a building thing? It sounds like it, but my son is all in it. He loves it. He thinks it's the greatest thing ever. And anytime he talks to us, he's like going, so can I tell you what I learned on Minecraft? I mean, it is a little wild, but I am, it's his jam. I'm learning. Gonna have to learn about it, because if not, I said, I'm not gonna be able to talk to my kid. So I better be able to do that. My channel that I have about raising boys, that's always fun. I have a boy dad channel because guess what? Raising young men is an absolute trick. And I said, it's also a trip, and you never know what's going to come out of their mouth. You never know what you're going to have to deal with, conversations you're going to have, and they're coming into preteen. So we are coming up on all the fun stuff, y'all. So dad gets to do all that. That's going to be fun for me to be like, okay, wonderful. I get to do all that fun stuff. I mean, it's part of it. So I'm excited about that, and I try and take a little bit of a comedic spin on it. So that channel has a bunch of videos from, I think, the last couple of years. So we've been watching them grow up and say some of the craziest stuff. But also a couple sappy things in there about how I'm feeling about being a dad and transitioning and watching them graduate and grow into young men, and, what their lives are going to be like. Hopefully incredible. That's what I wish for my kiddos, of course. And then my beloved is just fantastic. She's an educator. She's been teaching for over 20 years. And she is phenomenal. She speaks 2 languages. She is Latina. And so we learn a lot about Latino culture. She's doing research on it and kind of working on introduction of collegiate pathways to young students so that they are made aware that that pathway is available, and then how to get them on campus and visiting with other like higher education systems so that it shows that, yeah, you can do this and you should aspire to. And I love that. So we have amazing conversations. Our kids get to hear us have very in-depth conversations about research and background and all that. So that's kind of a blessing for them, is that we have open conversations in front of them about stuff like that, which I think is also important. And then there's just like, I'm driving around town right now, and my city is getting really big, and there's people that are very, very concerned, I would say fearful, about the growth that's happening. And I think part of that goes back to the way it was in the Remember Wins. Remember when it was young, remember when it was small, remember when, this street was the border, remember. And I've been in cities that have been growing. I've also been in cities that have been shrinking, where they were going away and the businesses were shutting down and downtown was losing money, and Let me tell you right now, to be in a city that's growing is way more fun than being in a city that's not. And it is a harder thing to come out of that. So in that way, I kind of appreciate the fact that we are where we are, what we're doing. But at the same time, I get frustrated sometimes. And it's just because I'm like, we have an opportunity, but I think a lot of people want to just say no and they don't want to be a part of the plan. Or they just want to fight the plan no matter what. And that does not make sense to me. Because I'm like, there is a plan in place. We have done the most comprehensive plan in the history of plans. It's called AIM Norman. If you want a chance, look up www.aimnorman.com just to go look at it. And you will see each segment of our city is planned out. And it's planned out for the next 20 years so that when our leadership goes and makes a decision, they have a roadmap. They have a space that says, this is what people want. And the citizens have been invited to do it for a year. There's been focus groups, there's been presentations, there's been discussions, there's been hearings, there's been all these things. And yet I've had opposition come up in like the last 2 weeks, and it's about to be done and approved. And so it's kind of like, it was frustrating to be like, wait a minute, you're raising your voice about things you disagree with at the end. Like, that doesn't make sense. It's like going, wait a minute, everybody, finish your favorite cake, right? Like, your cake out there, I love it. It's my favorite. It's the best. And then at the very end of the cake, you just look at it and go, yeah, I don't think I want the cake. And meanwhile, the cake decorator has been spending a week and a half on your favorite cake, and you gave them a roadmap, and you told them what you wanted, and you showed them everything that they wanted. And they're like, no, I don't think so. Then what does that cake person do? They get mad, real mad. So, I mean, ultimately, I'm kind of like, well, we need to move forward with this plan. And even then, it's just a plan. So that means that our city council and our leadership can change it. They can modify it. They can say no to things. So there's things like that it still can be changed. It's not in concrete stone tablet from Moses, plan. It is a living, breathing plan for a city, which I would just love. Now, at the same time, I love to eat, y'all. I love food. And so we are coming up on grilling season, which I love. So there's a couple things I'm a little nervous about, which I do not love. That is beef prices. The cost of beef has gone up a lot. And so, of course, the next thing people are going to say, well, just get a cow. Sounds great. Except I live in the suburbs in a city. So ultimately, no cows allowed. Not in my backyard. It's just a little messy. I can't have a cow back there. So I have to rely on farmers. So that is good. But luckily for me, I live in Oklahoma. Why? Because Oklahoma is a beef producing state. We don't produce just some beef. We produce some of the best beef in the world. Yeah, it's fantastic. And I can happily report that our stockyards that are in downtown Oklahoma City got sold. And they got sold to a local buyer. So ultimately, our, stockyards are going to continue to be beef buyers and beef sellers here. So, which I think is fantastic. Because as much as I would love for everything to be free range, grass-fed, grass-finished. I would love for everything to be, organic and all of that. I have not seen the ability for even small farmers to be able to sustainably do that. Because what happens is it gets to be too much work. You have to give up too much time and too much of your family to do it. So what happens, people can't do it the whole time. So then they stop producing food for other people. Then they just produce food for themselves, which is fine. That's also sustainability, and that's, Victory Garden, and that's taking care of yourself and making sure that your family's fed. So that is fantastic. But what that doesn't do is that does not feed the 240 million people that live in the United States. So we still have an issue, is that we still have to figure out how we're going to feed those people. How is that going to happen with the small farm model, with the farmers market model, with the, buy local model, if your local systems don't exist, or if you don't have a support around those systems. So I think that's something we also need to look at is legislatively, what can we do to help? What can we do to help to make that system work? And I do believe, let me tell you, I do believe in regenerative ag, and I think regenerative ag for grazing animals is a huge thing that needs to be implemented. I think some of that's just tradition and history that doesn't let that happen. But ultimately, that should happen. Because when I look at the idea of rotating crops and moving your cattle around, and then intermingling different grasses in there and making it drought tolerant, the soil better health, and the fact that you have feed and you don't have to go out and buy hay as much. That does not make sense to me. That I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you could absolutely make money on your feed costs, and then you can go ahead and do that. And come on, y'all. Like, that is a big, big thing. Oh, you're so rude. It's okay though. I'll delete your message in a little bit. You can go find someone else to talk to though. But yeah, so I am looking forward to all these things. I can't wait for all of like the incredible opportunities that are available for young people though. If you're going to graduate, they're graduating high school, good luck. College will be a lot of fun. You have a good time. If you're graduating college right now, going to be rough. It's going to be rough for you to get in the market. It's going to be rough for you to get in there and really make sure that you can find a job, because guess what? When people are uncertain, when business is uncertain, then that means they're not going to want to hire. So you need to be prepared that you're going to compete. And your best friend that you were in college with and you guys were roommates maybe, guess what? You're now his or her competitor. So therefore, you're going to have to go ahead and take that person out and win that job. And that sounds crazy, but it's not. I said, I've worked with a lot of students over the years, almost over 10,000 at this point, and I can tell you that it is rough when they have to go against those colleagues because they're all in the same majors together. And so sometimes they can help each other out and work well, but other times it's like they have to just take them out, and that's part of the deal. So I hope that it is better than that. If you're going in the medical field, you're going to be just fine. If you're going in anything AI related, if you're going in anything computer related, I think you're going to be just fine. I think you're going to do just well. If you are going into traditional media, or you're going into a traditional like place that you're going to do that, then ultimately I would say that can be a more difficult place to be. Teaching, let me just tell you, that's a whole nother world, you guys. I said, being an educator, you better, first of all, you better have your politics, like your political chops ready to go, because you will be advocating all the time, no matter where you teach. No matter where you teach, whether you're in higher ed, if you're in like common ed, if you're early childhood, if you're secondary, if you're in even a charter or private, I said, you will always be advocating for what you need. And there will always be somebody out there trying to tell you what to do that has never been in your classroom, that has never taught students. And that's messy. It's like you walking into a doctor's office and say, I got this, don't worry, I'll do my own surgery. And I'm like, okay, like that's not the best thing. And so likewise, it's people that think that they can teach, and then you get their kids in your classroom and you find out something they can't. They thought they could. They thought they could do it. They thought it was the best. And then you're like, wait a minute, I'm having to fix a lot. So there's sometimes that you know your skills and sometimes you know you're not. You know what? If you're not, that's okay. You get them to the educators that can do it in whatever form you want them to go. But you make sure that happens. And I said, because we don't want to have ignorant children. Why? Because we don't want to have those children going out and running businesses and running companies and running, other things like that. So we need to make sure that people are educated and, nice and can use words that are intelligent, things like that. And make sure that, that gets done. And it's important. I think I will argue, and this is something I'm on it, and I'm going to take responsibility for that. Technology has been rough. It's not been great. It's good in instances. Why? Because we can get our information very quickly. We can connect with people very quickly. You can go ahead and make a name for yourself very quickly. If you're in the music business or you're in the arts, it can be fantastic. Why? Because you can get your name out there quickly and build an audience, and then you have an audience to take with you when you get in the industry, which I think that is fantastic. It proves your worth some, and it allows for you to be like, oh, look what I can do already, which I think is great. I think that's wonderful. But at the same time, I think people can be hateful. I think it can be dangerous. I think that people can say what they want to behind a computer screen, and yet they wouldn't say the same thing to your face. They just wouldn't. And I think that's dangerous. I think that young people that are coming up that don't necessarily have the self-esteem yet are getting told things that absolutely are vile and heinous and rude and disrespectful, and my mother would slap my mouth if I ever said anything like that. I think that's a problem. I think that we are at a place where it's too much. We become very impatient. We can't wait. We can't sit still. Our kids can't concentrate and focus on a long-term project for anything because they're waiting for instantaneously for things to go. Even just like, hey, tell me about this. It's like, wait, look it up, do research. No, no, no. They just say, just Google it. Just look it up. And I said, well, you can wait a minute and we can get it a little bit later. Nope, they want it right then at that moment. And that becomes a difficult thing. So it becomes really hard. At the same time, I love the ability to see people from all over the world. I love to be able to know I'm a news person because I was a political science major when I was in college. International studies, international relations was my jam. My areas of interest were China, Haiti, and the continent of Africa. So it was really interesting for me to look at those areas of the world and their backgrounds and histories. So it is interesting for me to see them now, what they're going through and kind of things they're working on. I feel it's important to understand global politics and look at the United States from somebody else's perspective, because I think that is also important. I think we get super myopic in our view. We think of just one thing and then it's us. And I think we need to look at us from other places and just be critical about it, but not destroy it, just critical. Just look at it and go, this is where we do well and this is where we don't. And you know what? And I think that's important for all of us. I think it's important for me as a human being on a daily basis to look at myself and go, this is where I did well today, this is where I didn't. I do a self-evaluation at night and I look at what I'm doing and I say, hey, this is the area I did well, this area I didn't. I look at the way I am as a dad to my kids and I go, this is where I did well and this is where I didn't. I was looking at how my husband to my wife and I look at that and go, you know what? This is where I did well with her, this is where I didn't. Because I think that those relationships are healthy and important if I evaluate. If I don't, I assume that I know and I just go about life. That is not the way to do it. That can be very difficult and it's not a great relationship to have that happen. It's me thinking I know everything and that is not true. That is something I'm still learning and I will still learn. I've been wrong a lot. And the idea to be wrong is okay with me because that means I have an opportunity to learn more. An opportunity to learn something different from somebody else, to learn what their life is like. My favorite experiences in life was I got an opportunity to learn about Native history or like Native American history, Indian history by Native Americans. I sit and listen and I let them tell me about their experiences, their strengths, their culture, their nations, and the ceremonial history and what that means and what that is. And it is incredible to me to listen and hear that and then learn from it so that when I am around other people that are Native, I can ask questions. I can ask intelligent questions. I can ask other questions and learn about their different perspectives because they're not the same if they are Pueblo and they come out of, the West versus our Seminoles coming out of Florida, or you've got, the Oklahoma nations, which we have 39 federally recognized nations in the state of Oklahoma. I said they are incredible and they are an incredible economic engine here. And we appreciate all their support and everything that they do. So they're phenomenal. So yeah, I love that. I love that one time I sat across somebody and she this is before I met my wife and we got together, but we talked about immigration and she was Mexican and she was coming out of Mexico and she said that her dad came across and she said that he came across illegally. And I said, but I didn't just stop her and judge her and yell at her. I said, would you please explain that to me? I said, would you please describe that to me? And she did. She ultimately said that her dad put her up above his head, went across the river to get into the United States and was shot at by people. And I said, and what made him think that he wanted to do that? And she said it was the chance for survival, the chance for a dream that she wishes that her family could have. And it was an opportunity for them to be able to survive and do that. And I thought, that is the most American dream thing I think I've ever heard almost. So just think, if you're willing to get shot at and die for the American dream, and military, you got it. You've been out there, you served. You've literally had that happen. And I said, so I see you military members. And I see what you've been through and all of that. That is amazing. You guys serving. I said, in every branch, no matter which branch, no matter where in the world. I said, thank you. And so, yeah, it is my veterans that have been around a long time. I said, again, important. I said, you guys understand that dream and you understand what it is to be us. And I said, so that's my fight. That's my fight. I teach, I do it in the classroom. I'm educating students, letting them know about what history is so that we don't repeat it again. And I look every day and hope and pray that we don't, because I think that's important. I love kind of the arts. I love music. I love to listen to live music. I love to experience things with my kids and my wife and my family. And I just love life. And I hope that you guys have had a great, great time. Guess what? My bucket's empty. My jar's full though. Probably a thing for life right at this point. Your bucket is empty. Your jar is full. There you go. So I'm excited and I cannot wait to go ahead and get all this stuff done. So thank you guys. Have a good day.